Have you ever looked at someone and thought, how do they do it? How are they getting the results that they're getting? What did they do? What were the steps? What were the process, the tips and tricks? And well, chances are that if you see, an interview or you maybe read about them, they'll tell you things that what they did. But the problem with that is that they're just giving you the highlights. They're just giving you the ESPN top 10 freaking Spark Notes version where you just see, okay, I just did X, Y, and Z. But what they don't tell you is how long it took them to get from X to Y. They don't tell you how troublesome, how annoying, how frustrating that it took them to get from Y to Z and the reality of what that journey is like. And that's why in this interview, you are getting a sneak peek into that. This is part 2 of my client success series where I interview my clients that have done magnificent transformations where I pretty much hit the record button and just go to town, where we get into the nitty gritty of where they started, what they were feeling, what did they go through, and everything that happened along the way as they got to the place where they were more confident, more magnetic with women. They were more the guy that they saw in their head. In this episode, this is episode part 1 of 2, where I interview one of my OG clients. His name is Sapan. By day, he's a physical therapist, very fantastic. By night, he's a DJ that has the ability just to captivate people, that he operates from this place of love, that everywhere he goes, people are like, yo, I love talking to him. And not only that, his story is such a beautiful story because it's a story of someone who started off in his head, who didn't feel good enough, who was dealing with feelings of anxiety, and it's gotten to the point where now he's creating his own world, where he's met a beautiful woman that he lives with now. Now at work, he's revered and loved by his colleagues. And everywhere he goes now, people are asking him, how do you do it? And so, like, if I had to say anything about this episode, out of all the episodes here in the Red Velvet series here so far to date, this is one of my favorites. Only because, like I said at the beginning, you're really going to hear everything. And if I were you, I would really play this back and pay attention because in this, you're really going to hear the steps, the actual steps that he took to get to where he is now. And not only that, how he overcame the problems that chances you have. Things like insecurity, things like overthinking, things like, well, I have a girlfriend. Well, what do I do now? Do I stop being me? How do I build a social life now? How do I find happiness? And you're going to hear all of that in this episode. And so, with that said, grab your pen and paper, start to take notes, and enjoy yourself because we're about to get into it. Let's go. How do you, Supin, in yours, if you were to tell somebody, or if you were to tell your former self, how do you do that where you're able to connect with people and develop that, hit that hook point, get them to open up to you, and really connect with them on a deep level, and do that over and over? So if you had to talk to your former self or someone, whoever's listening, how do you do that?
Well, number one, I think you got to know, bring the energy. I was if I in my past I was waiting for other people to initiate. So I think number one is just conquer the moment, bring the energy. Always like come with something to say, come with something within you. Always be learning. So all the stuff that I did before in terms of reading books and studying, even all the TV I watched, like played a role. So that's like going on in the background. But essentially, like tactically, it was more of what worked for me was really giving value to people. I think making people feel good. I think that was like the main thing, and it was really um, it was interesting. I think in my past I was self-focused, and in this work, and when I was able to do this and connect with people, was other focus. Like, what's interesting about them? What do I see about them? What can I teach about them? What can I make them learn today, or how can I make them feel good from this interaction? I think tactically, it's really making them feel good. So the opener is just like you can do something simple like asking a question or just even just making a compliment. And then you just transition to something that they say. So a lot of times it's just hearing something that they say that you can really pull back on. Is making you smile is interesting.
No,
uh,
because I'm
yeah,
here like, yo, it's beautiful
yeah,
to watch, bro. I mean, watch
yeah.
shit.
you can take my place. Go ahead, do your thing. You're doing
Yeah,
great.
yeah. So I would listen to what they say, and I would see the things that I could relate to. There'd be like if they're talking about toys or something, talking about Disney, then it'd be like Aladdin or Lion King or what, those kind of things. And then so taking something like that and taking an average topic and then just giving a story. So you talk about like how the Lion King affected you when you were 9 years old, and that could be like the story that you told,
Mhm.
or even teaching them something about themselves, like the beads or simple stuff like we would do early on. I would have to use some stuff like the ring routine where you would have to like tell them about their fingers and what finger means what if they wear a ring on that, and then people would be like, wow, like that's
Yeah, yeah,
interesting. And
yeah.
some of it, some of them was like, I played it off like I don't really know, but that's what I read in a book, and they still like it. So I was like, you're not even about accuracy.
Right, right.
I think once you hit that point, I think it's also mixing in a little bit of like banter.
Yeah.
So really just pulling away and like giving them kind of making them not like you. Like so many times where I got stuck was like I really wanted to connect, like me, or really bond with me, but then it was like really rapport seeking. So then it was also the mixing in of like having them like not like you, and so that was the hard part when I was learning, but I think it's just a mixture of that. So part of my journey when we were learning banter was like I threw in like a lot of stuff that was not authentic to me. I thought I had to be just like a straight up like just make fun of them, but that wasn't the key. It was just basically playfully figuring out how to play with them, how to like learn from them, or just say things that are funny, like make a joke about them. I was even doing safe jokes with banter where I was just making a joke about the situation. But when it was like, oh, I had to make a funny comment about them, it was like that's when people were enthralled too. It was like that was actually more addictive and more seductive than probably the connection stuff for me. Because
What
I
do you mean? You mean when they
banter, the
ban?
banter,
Okay, okay.
banter became more seductive because I guess, as I was doing this inner journey stuff and as a medical professional, I was able to connect with people because I could like really be empathetic. Yes, everything, I could listen to them. I learned that skill, the skill that I was seeking at the beginning when I was younger. I was able to pick that up, as we were doing this work on myself, and I would share my journey about like how all these things work for me. I read this book. And so you could connect with people, but like it was cool, but the banter was the next level because it was like a secret society. It was like a secret language that no one that some people knew, most guys don't, but all like women seem to know it. And like when you speak that language, it just like piques something within them. It brings like attraction like that you don't even like. I didn't even know that was possible. That's what like was like the game changer is the little banter that you can have with people, and was that was addictive. And once I got that, then everything else was easy.
Mhm.
So to break it down is basically you transition to something that's within them. So for me, I would look at you and go, oh, nice leopard skin jacket or something. I comment about that and how it made me think of Africa or whatever. And
Mhm.
then I would, connect over that, but then also throw in some banter, like playfully throwing something to say like, and then after that, then it's basically closing. So once you kind of develop that connection, once they have that interest, all you do is just basically say an invitation to continue the conversation. So I didn't put stakes on that either. Whereas before it was like, oh, this number means so much, but now it's like, oh, we just had fun, like we had a great interaction. Let's just keep going. We can hang out. Let's exchange number. It comes more natural. And so when I was able to figure out all those steps like individually with you and then put them all together, it was helpful. That's
Yeah,
how I break
listen,
it down.
rewind that back, everybody. Rewind that back. That is the blueprint. That is a blueprint. And what would you say? So after like that clip for you, right? You know, because I remember you like every other day I would get these text messages from you. Just things like, listen, I just complimented on my McLovin shirt and they loving it over here. These people they're loving my style. And these lady came up to me and I'm here going on these dates and after that, it was lovely just to see like the life you started building for yourself. Like you started to take these skills and start building for yourself. And at one point too, I want to touch on because I want to hear about what was like afterwards. Like how many women were you meeting? What type of things you were experiencing? What type of things you were getting? I want to hear about that. And I want to talk about that next, but I don't want to skip over this because there was a moment that we had, and I would love for you to tell it from your perspective. I think, because there was a little bit of a gap between when we started working together and then I believe the first boot camp. And um, during that time, like yes, you were able to talk to people generally, for the most part and do your thing. But I remember one time when we were in Las Vegas and there was a moment where you and I had a conversation where I think was a big turning point here that kind of took you from the level of like, yes, I can get date. I mean, I can talk to women for stuff like that. But then something happened, or something clicked, and then you ascended into what I think is like your true form, in my
Mhm.
opinion. So, if you're open to it, you want to tell a little bit about that moment?
Yeah, so we were working together, and I felt like I was there, and so I had times where I had hook points and things like that, and then I had gone into Vegas. This was like a boot camp, so essentially for 3 4 days we go to Vegas and we're gonna work on these skills. So to me, this was like my postgraduate graduation, get my diploma
Mhm.
thing. Like I was like, okay, I got all these little skills, but now I got to execute to the level that I feel like in my head is going to take me to where I was when I was like a 15-year-old boy and felt like I could like own the club or own the playground or whatever you want to say. Um, and so when I got there, it was more of like, okay, I got everything down. So we worked on fashion, we worked on talking, we worked on all the steps, and there was this point in time where I just felt like I wasn't having success. I wasn't doing well. Like I felt like I felt like I took 10 steps backwards actually. Like I felt like I was failing. And it just wasn't getting. I think I put a lot of stress on myself. And we had worked on something and I felt like, okay, I gotta bring up this energy and it's Vegas and we gotta be turned up. And then, I look left and right. I'm like, damn, these girls are like 12s, like this is hard mode. This is like
It's
crazy.
different out there. It's different.
It's
It's the
so
big
different.
leagues.
Beautiful women, and so like that was also intimidating. And I think what was the turning point? It was a time we were walking through a casino. I think it was a Venetian, and we were talking about core emotions. And I thought my core emotion was like to make jokes and things like that, but my core emotion was like love, and that's what we embodied. So this came from my grandmother and my relationship with her. And you made me think about like what really means important to you. What's your superpower? What's like the thing that you can give to everyone? And it came from love. And when I was operating more from like trying to be funny or trying to be this, then it wasn't authentic. But when I was operating from love, whatever that was, then it clicked. And so it was interesting because we were walking through, and in Vegas they have this love, I guess, exhibit art thing, and the universe had told me like that's the sign. And my
Ah,
girlfriend actually told me that she had seen that at Burning Man, so that was originally at Burning Man, and she took the photo in the same letter. I think it was O that I did. And so when she saw that on my profile, she's like, "This is crazy. Like you and I like the same thing." But I happened to be there with you, and that had one of my biggest epiphanies. Like if you operate from love, like really for love for yourself and love for others and connecting with others, that's the key. And like all these people, if you're just playing this acting and trying to put on like these, there'll be certain girls that you can connect with, but not on the level that you want, not on the depth that you want. And so I got to like the spot where I think we were like at a chandelier bar or something. Me and you were sitting there, and I was like, I can't do this. This is difficult. Like these people are intimidating, or like I don't fit in here. This is not the place for me. This is not like authentic to me. And so like if I go and talk to these people, it just feels like number one, I don't know if I'll be accepted, and number two, I felt like I'll be putting on, and that's not executing or exuding the love quality that I just discovered. So, kind of like an emotional conversation that we had where I was kind of like looking at my demons and I was looking at it as a quote unquote failure for the weekend because I thought like, you had said at the beginning of the weekend, like if you bring a girl home, like I am mad at you, like that's So I thought like, oh yeah, we're gonna bring girls to the house and nothing, like zeros, nothing, no numbers, no nothing. Like and I had nothing to show. Like I got numbers before, or I like had interactions before, and like in Vegas it was zero, zilch, nada. And so I said like I failed this mission. Then we
Mhm.
get into the car, and there's this lady who's I think she was just playing like Bruno Mars, and she was playing Ariana Grande, one of the nasty songs. I think it was 34 plus 35. She played all these jams, and we played. I think what was it? Smoking Out the Window was a song, like
Yeah,
in the
yeah, yeah,
car,
yeah.
and we were just singing at the top of our lungs, and we were having fun, and we were just connecting with her. And like I had the best time on the weekend in the car when we were just driving home rather than like trying to put on at the Cosmopolitan. And so to me, like that was a point where I found like this is my tribe, this is my people. I don't need to be accepted by these people. And this is not what's going to make me happy. What's going to make me happy is try to find and identify the people that you can bond with and connect with out of love, and those people is what you need to find. And that's what like switched everything, because once I was able to just go like, number one, I think more self acceptance and self love, and number two, just exuding that to the world. I think everything came to me because then I put all the other principles of the superficial stuff, but I put it in the essence of love and how do I execute that, and then that became the vehicle for everything else. So like the seduction style to the fashion to like I started getting like card pins and everything because I just wanted to execute that over and over and over and over again. And then so then I started seeing like everything change after that. After that, I was able to like just open people because I was just more comfortable and I knew like where I was operating from. And everything in terms of the words and the language is all from that. Like I just want to give to people. I just want to execute this, and this felt most natural to me. I think for so many years, like I was operating out of these other things, this other identity. I didn't really have this original identity that was already installed in me that I wasn't working with. And so like once I shed everything else and I operated from that, then it was easy. Then it was like, oh, you got all these other skills now, but you just operate from that. And so like it was really like unlearning a lot of the stuff from those years before, and
Mhm.
then just putting in extra layers of the skills that stuff I had to keep learning. But there was all the stuff that it wasn't going on in my head
Yeah,
and all the beliefs that I had to just scratch.
yeah,
And it made the world like just easier. I think it just opened my eyes, and it was like getting contact lenses, to use our example, with
yeah,
clear vision.
yeah. And to give context to what something is talked about, we talked about something called core emotion. I'll be honest with you, that concept was invented that night.
Yeah,
It was not something that was on the agenda. It was not something that was taught or anything like that. No one else talked about it. No one else, like I didn't see anyone else talking about it because when everybody typically talks about like inner game in your state, everybody says you want to be confident or you want to be playful, you want to be charismatic. But for me, I mean, the problem that I saw pretty often was that if that's not who you really are, then you constantly feel like you have to turn up. You have to find the energy to become that guy, to be charismatic and be loud. And when you asked me, so Pablo, like, how do you keep your energy going? Like, it came from the question you asked me, which was, Pablo, like,
yeah,
how do you maintain that energy? And the answer I came up with is that I don't turn up my energy. I make that energy my baseline so that way I don't have to turn up. And the way that is my baseline, it came from, and it's funny. And the other thought that came to me is that when you ask like, oh, Paul, will you come like with this energy, this charisma? But when you ask me, I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm actually exuding joy, which is my core emotion. So
yeah.
the whole idea of core emotion is who were you before the world told you no? Like,
Mm.
like how were you? How would you describe that guy? Like, what was his essence? If you could say a word or emotion. For you, it was love. For me, it was joy. And so now when I think about it, like the reason why core emotion works is because it's naturally you. It's yeah, so it's naturally you. It's not something that you have to turn up, because you don't have to like turn on you. You're just you. And the second reason why it works is because it comes from your authentic side. And what's more attractive than confidence or anything else is authenticity.
Mhm.
And so when you asked me about that, I just started to like, I guess, like reverse engineer. And that's when the theory came to me. And that's when I was asking you, like, well, who were you before this? And then, you're like, loving, like, love is the thing that comes to mind. And the beautiful part, like, you feel it. It's an endless resource. It's something that never gets depleted. It's just who you are. And sometimes I think about it. I think about if I were to reteach it to someone and do the process over, or maybe let me ask you, if you had to relearn the process over, would you, and given what you know and how things turned out, would you learn like the tactical stuff first and then the core emotion concept, or flip it around?
Um, for time's sake, I would do the other way around.
For time's sake.
Time,
Okay.
but for the lesson to hit the hardest, it was the way it was supposed to be.
I was just gonna say, for
Yeah,
because there's two ways. Like, yeah, I mean, we can go fast, but then like if I want the lesson to really hit, I
yeah,
got I gotta let them fail. I gotta let them fail. Like, you want to talk to girls, you want to talk to women, fine, I'll teach you. Boom,
yeah,
boom, boom. Oh, Pablo, I don't feel happy. It just doesn't feel right. I know. Let me let
yeah.
me let me put you on to something. And then bam, I love it. So real quick, so after you hit that point, like what was it like? Like what type of like results were you seeing in your dating life? Like were you meeting, or more women, you were going on more dates, how many dates a week, and how many interactions were you having? What was it like at work, the benefits at work? What were some of the like tangible results that you were seeing?
So at work, like I was pretty good, but then like on my annual review, I think it was funny because they're like, this guy talks too much. So it's like way too much. I started just incorporating into all activities. So like I'm just gonna talk and talk. And I was they're like, man, you're not even doing I was doing my work, but quote unquote like helping out with, cleaning things up and calling patients back. So then it detrimentally affected my work in some ways where my bosses didn't care, but like my coworkers were like, damn, he's just talking too much. But like I had the whole place going. So at work it was just good. I just felt more alive even at work, just doing the day to day because I was able to just bring that joy and bring that emotion to work. In terms of dating, it just I didn't think it was gonna happen that fast. So we finished like in January, and I think like 2 weeks later, 1 to 2 weeks later, I went to like a museum, and so I went to like a Tupac museum, of course, where they had like a whole exhibit, and then there was me and my friend, and I saw this girl there, and I was like, oh, she's cool, and so we walk out, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna go talk to her. Let's go back in. So I walked back in, and then I forgot what I said, but like I got her number, and that was like number one. And then there was a second one I went to. It was like in January, February. I think the 49ers were playing some team to get into the football playoffs or whatever. And there's like these two girls who were 49ers fans. There's one that was a Cowboy fan. So I was like, okay, I got to use this banter. Like I found my jungle there. I just started talking mad shit. I didn't even care about the game. I just talking mad shit about how she's a Cowboys fan with her cousins. And she's like, who is this random dude like just coming up to us and talking to us? But then, um, we started talking, got her number, we started dating, and so that was like the second girl. And then there's a third girl, like she actually happened to be my like girl who cut my hair, and so I was like, well, let's go out with you too. So we just kind of we just started dating. So it was like incremental, like 3 4 people at once. It was just like, okay, this is too much for me to handle. Like this is a lot, but it
Man.
was nice. It was nice, and it was like what I liked about it is before I think I couldn't even I there's a concept you talk about dating with integrity. So like I
Mhm.
couldn't even do that with integrity because like I felt like, oh, like I would hide parts of myself. But I was able to even like just be honest with all of them, like, hey, I'm dating other people as well, and being comfortable with that and just letting them make the choice if they also wanted to date me, and
Yeah.
letting them have that choice and honor them too. And like each one I tried to they were staggered, but each one I tried to make it like the best date. So like the girl I met who was like the Dallas Cowboys fan, the first date we had, I was like, oh, there's a Genuine concert like over here at Ontario. I was like, there's like a local city right next to me, like 20 minutes away, and it's like a small lounge, and
Yeah.
so it's probably about 100 people there, and we're maybe 20 feet. And so I was like, let's go see Genuine. So I call her over. She comes to my house, and I have like all this 49er gear set out because Dallas had just lost to us. So I just put all this 49er gear, and she's like, "Oh my god!" It's like the first time I'm meeting her too, and she's like, "What the like? Where am I getting into?" But she just kind of made it just like comfortable for her because we just met. And so I was like, okay, we got to get ready for the concert. So like, let's turn the TV on. I got this karaoke microphone. We got to like get warmed up because if you don't know any of the songs, you can't sing along. So
Yeah.
we just started playing with that, and we just sang like a couple songs, and then we go to the lounge, and Genuine's there, and she has like a great time, and she goes tells her cousins that we met initially, like, oh, my first day was so much fun. Like we went to go see Genuine. Like who does that? And everyone's like, I want to see Genuine too. It's crazy. So like even like the dates that I was having because of the stuff that you taught me um was good. Like I was able to follow through even onto our interactions, but then it wasn't like a house of cards what fell over because the guy that they met was putting on a show. It's like I was able to be authentic all the way through.
Yeah.
Um, the
Yeah.
other girl I met at the museum that happened to have it's all during like football season, happened to have like the Rams had the Super Bowl there. So I was like, oh, let's go to something that I like. She happened to all these girls were different fans. She was a Seahawks fan. So that was easy too.
Random.
It's just random, like a random Seahawks fan. So we went and so we went to like the NFL experience. And so, I had her take photos of me and for the 49er gear. And we did all the we did all the running kick pass and play stuff. So that was like a cool date too. It was a one-off, but it was a cool date. So
Yeah.
it's kind of my dating experience, just all different things. So I try to curate each date to each
Yeah.
person. So
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So I'm very curious. I remember at the beginning you said that you were able to, in the past, you were able to talk and get dates, but yet, when you got to like the dating phase, even that was a little rocky. Like there was self-criticism, there was self-doubts during that time. The inner self was popping up. So now in this post phase, what was that like dating? Was the self-criticism still there? Was it, the thoughts in the back of your head? How was that dating experience like post boot camp?
peace. I would say if I had to say it was just peace. I think it was just more comfort, just more fun. I treated it more like a job before, like, oh, I gotta go on these apps or I gotta say this person, I gotta do this, and it wasn't fun. It was just more like, oh, I just gotta get these results because it's not happening for me. Whereas now it just kind of came to me. These are all happenstance. These are all things that I didn't think that would happen. Like all three of them, I met like in person, which is something I couldn't do before. Like I could do it through friends, but they're all quote unquote like kind of strangers. And so I think just being comfortable and creating a comfortable environment for them just made it myself. I just treated them like I knew them for 20 years. And so I think that became a vehicle for me to just be myself.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
before it was like kind of like putting on or just being more buttoned up or I have to be, more, I guess you could say formal at the beginning with it. And so it was just like, oh, and how you doing? Everything good? And like these questions like, oh, tell me about your life. And it was not me. Where now it was just I was able to be me. And to the point where maybe like my girlfriend now is like, wow, you're like totally different than I thought. Like I thought you were not intellectual at all, like this LA dude, like on my online profile, we met online. I had pictures in front of a Lamborghini. So she's like, oh, I was about to swipe left. And so it was just so different, but it was good. It was good. So I just felt more comfortable and I felt more at ease and I felt like abundance. So even if they don't like me or if it doesn't fit or if it's not the right partner for me, it's okay. Like I have the necessary skills to move on and find love somewhere. If it's not love, it's just like I find friendship somewhere. And I was just
Mhm.
more fulfilled. So like I didn't need anything from them. It was more like I just want to give to them, and I want to give them a good experience. If it's for a week, a month, a year, 2 years, a lifetime.
I love that. Love that mentality. I'm just gonna give you a good experience for however long it lasts. I just want to give you a good experience. I love that. And
Yeah,
so, fast forward a little bit later. Fast forward a few years. You did mention you have a girlfriend, a
yeah.
very, very lovely woman that I had a chance to speak a couple of times. I'm super excited for you. I'm super happy when I found out about it. It's how you guys two click well and everything. And I feel like, seeing you in development now, you had to up level again. And now you feel like you're in a new stage with new growth and new opportunities. And so I want to fast forward a little bit to like this era now. If we had to give it a name, what would you give the name to this era of your development?
Let's see. I would say the old man game. I wish you say old man
Old
game.
man game. No, it's so true though. It's so
Old
true.
man, grown man game. Grown man game. I would say
Grown man game.
grown man
Yeah,
game. That's
because
how kids
young
look anymore.
exactly. Now, kid game is like, hey, let's get drinks. Hey, you're cute. Let's make out. But
Yeah.
grown man game now is like, listen, let's talk about it. Let's relationship now. Like, what's up? Let's talk. Let's work this out. Let's handle this like adults. I love it. And so, as far as grown man game right now, tell us a little bit about where you're currently at right now. I mean, this. And by the way, this everybody. We're fast forwarding a little bit here because something I can ask him questions forever, but I don't want to take up too much of his time. But so fast forward here a couple of years, and you meet a lovely woman. You're at a different stage now. Could you tell us a little bit about where are you at now? What is your situation? What are some of the things that you're working on? Some of the things that you've achieved in this current era.
So I'll tell you, like, I'll give you a brief summary. I was dating those girls, and then she happened to be one that I found, I think in April. I was actually like taking a DJ class because, an interesting man has to have all these skills. So I was acquiring another skill that I could use to like give love to people or give value to people or just exude something from myself to give to someone. But anyways, so I met her in April. We started talking online, and we talked about like the Love Is Blind. I think it was called the Ultimatum Show. So we
Mm-hmm.
actually bonded over that Ultimatum Show because I was asking her questions about like how would she give a man an ultimatum, and like in terms of relationship, we're breaking them down and like, what do you like about this person? What do you not like about this person? So she answered the questions, and she gave me like a voicemail and like a whole thesis on like all the characters, and I was like, wow, this girl is hilarious, like you know. And I had randomly said like, oh, you must be watching. One of my first hook points was basically like, you must be watching this show, and she's like, yeah, I was, and that's crazy. Like, I don't want to admit that. So like, just even throwing that out there. But we had I think my relationship with her is working on the inner game stuff. I think the things that were boiling in the background in terms of communication,
Mm,
losing my ego, like really giving to someone in a different way, and
mm,
just being totally connected. I think in past relationships, I was kind of, and I'm still working on this, like the lone wolf mentality, or like this is me and this is you, and now it's more of like turning me to we. I think
mm,
that's the stage that I'm at now. So we actually met in LA. We started dating, and then she moved to Phoenix to finish her program for nursing. So we had to actually do like a long-term relationship or long distance relationship in like the first 3 4 months of dating. So like my anxiety came up, like, how's this gonna work? How am I gonna travel there? Like, oh my gosh, this is way over my head. Like, I just started acquiring these skills, and now I have to like bring the game to someone in a different state. So now I have to like talk on the phone, and we have to connect through Zoom, and like I don't have all these other things. So it took me back to when we're at the grocery store, and I don't have like a date. I don't have all these things in person. I just got to use my personality. I got to use my connection. I got to come in love. I got to be authentic. I got to be honest, and I got to be able to learn different skills. So we had our ups and downs, I think, at the beginning, just to, as any couple does, kind of going through long-term relationships, and is really like a testament to you. She feels like you're like the third person in a relationship in some ways, because of how much advice that you gave, and like all the things you were able to help me out with, which like she learned stuff as well. So I think along the way it was good, and I think the biggest things is just um, killing a little bit of that nice versus kind guy, like
Mhm.
not worrying about what her feelings are, just being super honest, being super upfront, and like having the difficult conversations. I think that's like the grown man game. And then
Mhm.
also integrating someone in your life. So now she's actually moved in with me, and so like that's a whole different like game, like the bachelor life, and all my sports posters got to come down, and now it's like West Elm and 50
Uh-huh.
plants everywhere.
Uh-huh.
She has it like all looking how she wants to, but that's also a big thing for her. It was a big jump to move from a different state and then also move to like my house
Mhm.
and all the things that sacrifices and maybe all the things that go along with that. So us just working through kind of supporting someone. I think she also has more family over there and not as much here. So I've had to be like her anchor, her family here, and integrate her into the life that we have here.
Mhm.
So it's been so many levels and so many iterations. Like I was thinking about it today. Just the
Yeah.
first part was just about fun and dating, and the second
Right.
part was like long-term relationship, and then the third part was like her graduating and finding a job and us going on vacations, and then talking about like getting married and having a family. So it's like been 2 years, but it's been like 10 relationships in one.
No, absolutely no, and and that's why it's grown man game because
Yeah,
people think that just getting the woman, like that's it, you won, like that's it. Like no, 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 you're just done with level one.
yeah,
There's level two, three, four, five, and the game doesn't stop. It just means so in order to continue, and the name and in order to continue, you have to get good at to keep playing the game. Like if that makes sense, like the point of the game is not to win the game, it's to keep playing the game, which means you need to develop new skills that constantly need to be a reinvention. That's something I'm coming to find in my relationship, and you learn a shitload about yourself. I was actually going to talk about this on the next mastermind. Fun fact, and it's being revealed here on the podcast, and I haven't even told Kirby this, but I got abandonment issues. Believe it or not, there's I had a realization that my reactions and my drive to perform, to always be a success, and if I don't succeed, like I freak out. It's because of the belief that I have on the line, underlying belief that if I don't succeed, people will leave me. And
exactly
so,
what I have.
huh?
Exactly what I have. Yeah,
We're in the same club there. We're in the same boat. Yeah. And
yeah.
it's but the reason why I find that interesting is because I have been doing work for quite a while. I'm by no means saying I'm a master, but I'm like, okay, I know most of my shit. I thought I know most of my shit, but relationships, the deeper you get into, the more your real shit will come up. And grown man game is the ability. I guess, would you agree with this statement? That grown man game has less to do with a woman, but more about yourself.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. Because as I was saying that, that's what I'm starting to realize that a lot of the, I guess, fights or disagreements and things like that. I mean, of course, she has her thing on her end, but it's me, my reaction to like the inner world that's going on. Like there's these certain beliefs underneath. And I remember catching myself saying, like, listen, I need to do this because blah 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 blah. And it wasn't until later that I heard my language, I need to do this. I'm like, why? Why do I need to do this? Um and then like just talking to myself like, oh, because I need to do it because if not, people will leave.
Yeah,
And so grown man, give me one. I mean, you just taught me something here too, and maybe it's another thing. Is grown man game is dealing with yourself, is re-relationshiping with yourself.
mhm,
And it's funny because part of me, like, yes, I want to help guys continue to meet women, meet and start great relationships, but I'm not gonna lie. Maybe this is the Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan bigger picture thing. Like, yes, like getting a woman in a relationship, that's maybe one championship. And maybe a little long-term relationship, cool. Maybe you went back to back. But if we're talking like Hall of Fame, right? Hall of Fame legendary, it's about being able to problem solve in your relationship, being able to have those difficult conversations, being able to call yourself out. Like, all right, you know what? That's on me. That's my issue that I'm letting come up. And I'm gonna work to take care of it. And being like that type of man to own it and be like, I'm gonna take responsibility and I'm working on this. That is actually funny. The stuff that's calling my name. Because
Yeah.
like, yes, I'm seeing a relationship, like, yes, getting her is great, but the real win, the real like, yo, you're the man, is when you are that grown man game, when you are not letting like your own shit sabotage and have you show up as not the best version of you, as not like the real version of you. That's what I'm leaning into. That's my thought. But I would say grown man game is less about her, more about you. So this is just some new shit. This is not red velvet. This is not even it's funny, I was talking about with Kirby. I didn't tell you guys this, but in my head there are three levels of velvet. There's red velvet. There's like three, four levels. There's red velvet, there is blue velvet. The joke is sometimes that blue velvet is the antagonist, the anti-hero, but there's blue velvet, purple velvet, and then black velvet.
Wow.
Black velvet is you are you are immortalized, Hall of Fame, you won the game, like you're OG. Me, I wouldn't consider myself black velvet. I'm not there yet. I'm still working on it. I would say I'm teetering between blue and purple velvet. Blue and purple velvet. I would definitely consider you definitely in the blue and the blue purple velvet area as well. Because red velvet is essentially getting the lifestyle, getting the ideas. Like, hey, I'm giving value to everybody. Blue velvet, I would say it is to be able to do it consistently. Also to consistently create like great relationships. All right, wherever you go and everybody else around you. Where now it's like just the way you are. You're not doing tricks; it's just who you are. Purple velvet, it is now a relationship where now you get good at problem solving. You get good at doing conflict resolution with your lady. Black velvet is a conquering of self.
Hmm.
Whoa. Ooh, something's smiling because we just hit something. We just hit something. Yeah. And it's and it's man, so I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna play with that. I'm gonna play with that. Maybe see if I can turn that into something. Maybe one day, we'll all show up to an event in black velvet. That might be in a little bit though, because we all got work to do. But yeah, that's my thoughts. What do you think?
Yeah, I love it. Well, when I was thinking about like grown man game, think of basketball analogy. So there's the young guys at the court in their 20s, and there's the old guy who's like 50, and he don't have the hops. He probably can't do all the moves, but he's smart and he's surgical with it. So he can pass and he can do all these things. He's got a killer jump shot. Probably doesn't have like all the athleticism, but he'll smoke you on the court. And
Yeah,
that's my old man game. Like he understands the whole play, the whole court. And I think
yeah.
that's the level that we're working towards.
It's funny you say that because at the gym, there's this older guy that works out with me. I do CrossFit, and I was talking with him one time, and he said something that showed the difference between, I guess, like young man's game and grown man game. And for me, when I work out at the gym, for me, I'm like every day I want to lift as heavy as I can, as fast as I can. I want to go hard. But him, he's like, my goal is to be able to show up tomorrow and the day after that. And that hit me because for me, I'm like, let me blow my load first, this day. Ah! But for him, but with that mindset, like, yes, it's good and there's growth, but if it's taken to an extreme, it could lead to injury, overwork, so on and so forth. And then I, knock on wood, I get hurt, and then I'm out for who knows how long. But for him, he has and I think it speaks to the grown man vision you're talking about. That foresight to be like the goal is not to get big and by the way, at different ages, but I'm talking about from a metaphorical level.
Right,
For
right.
him, the goal is not just to be to lift the most today and be the fastest in the class. The goal is to be able to come back. The goal is to be able to come back month after month and day after day and keep it up. And I was like, wow, like that really got me thinking about playing the bigger game, which is what one of the principles of Red Velvet. I was thinking about the other day. I was able to boil down the core principles of Red Velvet. I know we have like our code of conduct or whatever, but I boiled it down to three things. One, give value. always and to everybody. Number two, play a bigger game in all aspects of life. And number three is authenticity. And under authenticity is there's self-compassion, self-love, and self-acceptance, but that all encompasses that. And I would say those are the three pillars of Red Velvet. And so, what do you think about that?
That's good. That's good. I think what comes to mind for me in relationships is something you said as well. Making them fall in love with you over and over again. And I think, especially this month, it was Valentine's Day 11 days ago. It's like I see like the average guy just going through the motions, but I feel like the level that we're trying to play at, the old man game, quote unquote, is like always showing a different experience, always showing up, always having the conversations, always working on yourself, always trying to be better in all different aspects of your relationship. And I think that's the next level of game. Is like you can get her once, but the Red Velvet Man gets them over and over and over and over again.
Yes, yes. I mean, to a certain point, she's heard all your stories. She's
Yeah,
heard all your jokes. She's already experienced all the tricks you do with your tongue. Oh, yeah, he's doing that thing again. Here we go. And there he goes. Yeah, so she experienced that. The name of the game is, can you evolve? Can you continue to get her again? And after 5 years, 10 years, her still be like, oh, wait, this is new. This is different. I like that. That's the name of the game there. And I think, I mean, again, so we could talk forever. I would say, I would love to end it with the last three questions. I want to say four. Four quick questions. Speed round. All right.
yeah.
First thing is, in your journey, what are milestones that you are proud of in your journey so far?
Well, I would say like I think number one is being authentic in terms of like speaking and showing up the way I show up and just being more comfortable in my skin. I think that's the biggest thing. I think number two, I would say fashion too, because that's like a expression of self. And then biggest things like I think giving value and just the skills that you taught me afforded me the ability to like learn DJing or like take kickboxing class for like last year we worked on the year of masculinity, and so one of the pillars was like learning to be physical, learning to like use your body, learning about their dark side. Even we talked about anger and emotions and learning how to tap into that at a certain rate. So I just learning all those things about me. um, I think other things that I learned along the way was like even during some of the events that we had, like in Tennessee, one of the highlights was like when we went out and we talked to the DJ and we were able to go like Avril Lavigne concert, and then we were able to like talk to the bachelorette party, and they were able to buy us drinks, and then we kind of parlayed that into like the truth or dare game, and like we had so much fun, and like the level of life that we were playing at during that weekend is like something that I dreamed of or like I saw on TV when I was a young kid, and now to like actually live it was a beautiful thing. And
Mhm.
so like I feel like those are some of my highlights from the journey. Like so many of our weekends together, I think they're just things like that, lessons along the way. Like when we were in Dallas, one of the biggest things that I had difficulty with was with like finding the fun. Like I was scanning the whole environment and trying to figure out like, okay, how do I connect to people and how do I do that? But like I remember you had said like you guys walked into this place and were scanning like predators, like you're getting preyed on. The predators are gonna get you, rather than like kind of just assessing the situation and seeing where the fun is. And we totally missed that there was this bounce ball thing that we both could get into like these big bubble balls and just go
Yeah,
at each other. And
yeah,
you had found that and you signed up for that. And what I learned from that situation is like that life does have all these fun things. It's just the prism and the way that you look at it is the way you're able to kind of experience it. So I think just learning that and playing life on that level was a big thing. Like we talked about in Vegas, just having the core emotion was a huge turning point as well. Like that allowed me to like go on stage there and perform at like a karaoke bar. It's something that was really cool just to have fun and not worry about like what people think. So
yeah. Excellent, excellent. All right. Second question. It's essentially like, what would you tell something at the beginning of the journey. So essentially, if you were to come up to you and ask, hey, how do I overcome this self-doubt and this overthinking that I have going on? What would you tell him?
Uh, the stuff that you're trying to give to the world, give yourself. Be gentle with yourself. I think that would be that's one of the things that I'm working on this year is just being more gentle with myself, having more compassion towards myself, taking my time. I think just looking back on it is like how many people actually take the time to do this work and really work on themselves. Like a lot of people avoid this with alcohol or distractions of social media or just life in general. But I mean, this work was really just really breaking down like who are you and what's your identity and all those things. And so I would say like just be patient with it. I mean, it takes time. The amount of time it took you to like build all these quote unquote things that you don't like about yourself are parts of you. Every part of you, you got to embrace all of it. And so the journey was like important. The process was important. I was so focused at that time about the outcomes of like, why is this not happening? What are these results? And then I think, like Kobe says, like enjoy the dream is actually the process, not the destination.
Mhm. Yeah. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And last question of the night. And it's gonna be this, like, let's say, it's all said and done. It's all said and done. Something has lived a wonderful, fulfilled life of 101 years. And, our source as creators called you back to the other side. And I guess the last question this is if you were to leave a last message for all guys everywhere, what would it be?
That's I can only tell them one message.
It could be a combination of things.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, for me, I think the biggest life lesson or biggest is the compassion for yourself and being okay with who you are, being comfortable in your skin, and not rejecting yourself. I think so many times, like guys in general, or have difficulty with authenticity or trying to put on to be liked by everyone else. But like, just show up in the world as your authentic self, and there's going to be people who love you for who you are. And you're not going to be for everyone, but that's okay because there's going to be a lot of people who love you and like you for who you are. So take on that genuine trait. Many of us guys wear a mask and operate that throughout the life. So just take off the mask and show them who you really are. Because like the things that you might find nerdy or things that you might not find interesting, what I found in the journey of my 101 years is that like those things that make you special, those things that separate you, the things that you talk about, the vulnerable things, that's how you can relate to people. The hardships is how you relate to people, not like because you have money and status and this cool jacket and you can get into the bar. Is really about like the hardships and the shared humanity that you have with everyone else. And we share so much with other people, but we don't share ourselves. And I think if we share ourselves, then you'll be able to be successful.
I love it. I love it. DJ Dreams, everybody. Pew, 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 pew. I love it. Something. Thank you so much for hopping on, man. Thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you so much for being open and honest. I'm so happy we got to have this conversation because, like I said, like your story, I resonated so much. I think that's one of the reasons why we connected because a lot of things that you were talking about, a lot of things that you were trying to overcome were things that I was dealing with that I overcame, and I was like, you know if something that I thought was unique to me happens to someone else, and this person has done the work, then you know what? Let him tell his story. That way, it lays a blueprint for other guys that may be overthinking, guys that may be self-critical, that want to become that legend in their heads. Hopefully, in hearing your story, that they see like, okay, here's a blueprint. It can be done. I can do it too, and give them a breath of inspiration. And so thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. Really appreciate your story. We're gonna keep at it. Excited to see you at the boot camp in June, where we're gonna take over Vegas. Which, by the way, um, we're gonna do dope shit. I mean, the whole idea we're gonna turn the boot camp into the most interesting man boot camp. And what we're going to do is the idea is I'm gonna tell you right now, we are going to it's the goal of it is that we're gonna do this: a daytime and a nighttime most interesting man. During the daytime, we're gonna go to the pool parties, and the idea is to create our own party and grab a bunch of people and have them come to our table. That's the idea right there, where you're gonna go out, meet people, meet women, like ha ha ha, hey, come on, back, party over here, boom, at our table. That is the most interesting man thing. Or maybe make it even harder. We could fuck it. We're gonna make it even harder. No, you're not allowed to bring anyone back to our table. In fact, what's gonna happen? You have to be invited to somebody else's table. That is next
Oh,
level. To be so cool, where people are like, yo, come sit down with us, come have a drink with us. That is the objective of the weekend, at least in the daytime. Nighttime, it's a whole different thing. Nighttime is you gotta own a whole entire place. I'm gonna point out a bar, a lounge, and say, go get them. You have 2 hours. 2 hours. You have to 2 hours. You have to know multiple groups of people. You have to be cool with staff and everything. Oh, it's gonna be the bomb. I'm getting so many ideas, but it just sounds great already. It sounds great already too. And people better become just nice. All right, better come just nice. Start putting your outfit together right now. But the idea is to help you how to own the room in Vegas. If you can own the room in Vegas, you can own it anywhere else in the world. Anywhere else in the world. And so, any last words before we sign off?
yeah, life lessons always happen in Vegas. That's why we do our boot camps there. Anyone interested in signing up for this program would be great. Great to have you. I think what you're doing is really healing men all over the world. It's crazy to hear that this podcast is like broadcasted to Brazil and all these other places that you said. So
I know.
um, I feel like those guys can really do help when you're creating a community. I think you're doing um, God's work. So keep at it. Like really, I think your brand's going to keep growing, and hopefully, people can hear my story and it resonates with them, and they feel like they can join the group and learn from this wonderful teacher who's taught me so much, so many lessons. We didn't even have enough time to go over everything, but that's why you have to join the group so you can hear all the other lessons.
Whoa, there you go. And if you need a great DJ, I might know somebody in the LA area. So if you need somebody, let me know. But yeah, something, thanks so much. And listener, thank you. Thanks so much for listening. I really appreciate your time. I can't wait to talk to you next week. We got more good stuff coming up. Till then, I'm your host, Papa Rosario. Thanks for listening for the Red Velvet Podcast. Stay velvet out there. And I will catch you on the next one. Later. Oh shit, wait. I almost turned off the video.